Folks, welcome back to another edition of Community Focus right here on WPGC 95.5. I'm your host, News Affairs Director Guy Lambert. Thanks so much for sticking around with us this morning. Of course, as you know, the comments and opinions expressed during the course of this program are not necessarily the views of WPGC Radio. Well, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, if you haven't heard, let me be the first to tell you. And I'm specifically talking to you folks in D.C. You see, a top priority of Mayor Muriel Bowser's administration is providing all Washingtonians with a fair shot so that they can share in the district's prosperity and economic growth. Obtaining a college education? Well, that happens to be one of the best ways to achieve this goal. A major challenge facing district families and students, however, is the excessive cost of college and graduate school. That's where this gentleman comes into play. His name, Ricardo Jefferson. Who is he, you ask? Well, he's a student loan ombudsman, and he's kind enough to join us this morning right here on Community Focus. Ricardo, truly a pleasure to have you on the show this morning, sir.
Good morning, guys. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we're happy you're here as well, and I got to tell you, when it comes to college, that really puts a smile on my face because so many folks that are listening to this program, just like me, I'm raising my hands up high, I didn't know the procedures, the things that I needed to do in order to get that education at first. And as you heard me state, that's where you and the mayor come into play. Tell us a little bit about the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking.
Sure. So the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking, which we generally refer to as DISB, is one of many district agencies that is set up to serve the needs of district residents and also to cultivate a regulatory environment that protects consumers, attracts and retains financial services in the districts. We are organized to empower and educate residents on financial matters and to help small business. We regulate financial service entities really in several areas. We regulate insurance companies, insurance producers, health maintenance organizations, captive insurance companies, risk retention groups. We also regulate investment advisors, broker-dealers, agents, securities issuers, and agents of issuers. We also are over mortgage lenders and brokers in the District of Columbia, mortgage loan originators, check cashers, money transmitters, consumer sales finance companies, appraisal management companies, student loan servicers, and consumer service contract organizations. So we have a broad portfolio of services and regulatory spaces in which we operate.
Yeah, I got to tell you, when it comes to regulation, it gets no better than you guys and gals over there. I got to be honest, full disclosure here, sir. You know, as I was preparing for the interview, I had to look up the word ombudsman. I said, what the heck is that? And I'm pretty sure a lot of folks listening to this program, don't leave me hanging, guys, are probably saying the same thing. So talk about your role as a student loan ombudsman.
Sure. So an ombudsman is a fancy word to really to describe a person who acts as impartial advocate, a person who is really there to ferret out what's going on, a troubleshooter, if you will. I really perform several key functions. I regulate the private educational lenders and servicers who have licenses to issue loans in the District of Columbia. They have to file annual reports with my office, which we review to make sure that they have not done anything that would have adversely impacted consumers. If we see any patterns and practices of abuse, those matters can then be referred to the Office of the Attorney General for further investigation. We also conduct public outreach and education activities to assist district residents locate sources for college funding and manage student loan debt. We really work to educate people to understand the terms of their student loans, the conditions, their rights and responsibilities as borrowers. So we're really there to make sure that people have a better understanding of what's going on. We also work directly with district residents to answer questions regarding those rights and responsibilities. We can address complaints that they may have regarding their servicers. We can even get involved by reaching out to servicers to get information and hopefully to resolve questions and issues. I also monitor developments in the legislative and public policy arenas to advocate for better consumer protections for borrowers in the district and, in fact, across the country.
Wow.
So it's quite a bit that I do. And and when people come to me with their complaints literally become the basis for policy fixes that we might recommend to Congress.
Sure.
So it's really an important role and an incredible opportunity to interface with community, but also with key policy persons at the Department of Education and in the Congress and across the executive branch.
I think it's fair to say that you are truly making a difference within our community. And one of the ways you're doing so is really focusing on borrowers and their issues with repayment, specifically with regard to the month of September. Talk about that.
Right. So as you know, Guy, back on March 27th of 2020, then President Trump signed the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, also known as the CARES Act. And under the CARES Act, repayments on federal student loans were administratively placed in forbearance, meaning that people were no longer responsible to make repayments on federal student loans. Now, this did not include private student loans. It included federal student loans and also federally held, federally guaranteed loans. And so this also caused the government to stop garnishing wages for people who may have been in default and were having parts of their paycheck taken to pay that debt. It also ended the taking of people's income tax return. It's called Treasury offsets for non-payment student loans. It also caused the government to stop automatic debits. And many people who were in certain types of rehabilitation plans may have even had certain funds that were paid returned to them. So this really helped a lot of people out financially. As you know, student loan debt grips 44 million in our country. Washingtonians owe more per capita than any other population in the country. The average student loan debt in the District of Columbia is over $55,000 compared to a national average, which is about $33,000 a person. So Washingtonians are especially hit hard. Second to Washington, D.C. is the state of Maryland for student loan debt.
Oh, wow.
But people have come to depend on this administrative forbearance that has been extended several times, first by the Trump administration and now by the Biden administration. Most recently, in the last couple of weeks, it's been extended through August, as you know. My biggest concern for our community is that people have become complacent and are now really have taken that additional money and they have added it to their main budget. And I get it. People's finances have suffered tremendously under the weight of the pandemic. Families have been upended. Many people in our local economy work in the service sector. A lot of them work in tourism and hospitality. We know that those sectors were the hardest hit. We also know that jobs that are generally held by women were also hit harder than many positions traditionally held by men. And we also know that women owe more student loan debt than men. We also know that African-American women owe more than any demographic group per capita in student loan debt. So when it comes to your audience, when it comes to our District of Columbia residents, I know that there are going to be, and that there are many women, many African-American women who needed this money, this savings over the last 20 months to catch up on other bills, to take care of their families. But I want to caution people and encourage them to begin now putting away a few extra dollars to be prepared for return to repayment. I don't want people to be waiting or looking for across-the-board loan forgiveness that may not happen.
Sure.
If it happens, it happens. But I think what we need to do is we need to be saving money now and expect to return to repayment. Part of that process guide means that if you don't know who your servicer is, you need to go to studentaid.gov and look up the identity of your servicer, right? If your income has changed, you need to reach out to the servicer and certify your income for a new income-driven repayment plan based on your current income and status. Because I'm sure that for many people, the income that they earned in 2019 may be very different from what they're earning today. It could be drastically lower. If that is the case, there's an opportunity to get an appropriate adjustment on that loan repayment plan. So those are the kinds of things that people need to do to get ready.
I got to tell you, it's so much information, so much vital information, and information that you have made very understandable, sir. So I just want to make sure we're clear here. Would you say one of the single largest contributing cause to student loan default is folks just not having the know-how, the wherewithal to make sure that he or she is really up to par?
So actually, the single largest contributing cause to student loan default is people starting school but not finishing their degree. And so what happens is when they come out, their earnings potential is diminished, but 6 months after you leave school, whether you have a degree or not, the student loan bill comes in. And if you defer that debt over time, the interest is capitalized, which actually causes the debt to increase. It's not uncommon for a person to have attended 1 or 2 semesters of school who maybe borrowed $5,000 or $6,000 to find out in 10, 12 years after not paying that debt is ballooned to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And that's where people get into trouble. It's by ignoring small debts because they don't have money in the short run to pay them that balloon into very large debts because the interest is capitalized and the debt is accelerated if they go into default. And so what I like to see people do and what I try to help people do is come out of default by consolidating that loan so that they can become eligible for federal aid again and come up with a plan to finish their degree to increase their earnings potential. There's a wonderful program promoted by the Office of the State Superintendent of Education called the Adult College Completion Office, where they help people in the district find ways to finish their post-secondary education so that they can increase their earnings and get in front of student loan debt. My goal is to help people who are in this position come out of default so that they can become eligible for grants and scholarships and complete their degree. That is really the best way to turn it around for many people. And again, the single largest contributing factor for people being in default is dropping out of school and not finishing their degree, which minimizes what they can earn.
Folks that want to seek more information, how would one go about to do so?
So it really depends. Again, Guy, as I've indicated, I work for the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking for the District of Columbia. So if you are a district resident and you want more information, you can go to disb.dc.gov. You can also email me at dcloanhelp@dc.gov. But if you go to our webpage at disb.dc.gov, if you click on Student Loan Ombudsman, you can find a variety of resources available on my webpage, including past webinars, including information on public service loan forgiveness, handouts, links to other programs. There's a page on current scholarships that we update monthly. If you're a district resident, you can also schedule a one-on-one consultation. Again, you do that by emailing us at dcloanhelp@dc.gov. You can also call 202-727-8000 to request an appointment. That's 202-727-8000. For our listeners who are in Maryland, do not distress. You also have an ombudsman, believe it or not. The Maryland Ombudsman is located in the Department of Labor, and they have a toll-free number 1-888-784-0136. That's 1-888-784-0136. And our listeners in Virginia also have a student loan advocate. They should look up the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia. And you can email them at studentloan@schev.edu.
Easy as 1, 2, 3. Once again, we've been chit-chatting with Mr. Ricardo Jefferson. Ricardo, thank you so much for all of that important information and all of the wealth of knowledge that you shared this morning. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Guy.
You're welcome. All right, folks, stick around. We're going to take a quick break. More Community Focus coming up next, right? Oh, you know what? Before we go, I need to make mention of this, Ricardo. I almost forgot. Today is May 1st, which happens to be National College Decision Day.
Yes.
We can't leave without talking about that.
Absolutely not. So, National College Decision Day is a very important day. This is the day when first-year applicants commit to college. Now, what does this mean? This means that parents need to be on top of their children's email. So have your child check their inboxes to see if they've gotten their letters. They should have their letters. And this is the day that you want to make sure that you get your money in order to get your deposit to the school. Make sure that they have all their financial aid paperwork in. See if they've been selected for verification. If there's anything else you need. If you're not quite ready, you need an extension, you should contact the school admission office and let them know that maybe you need a little extra time. Some schools are not as strict about decision day as others, but to be sure, you need to contact the admissions office and talk to them. But this is the day that you need to make sure that you get your deposit in and that everything is in order to start school this fall. It's an exciting day, Guy.
Very exciting and very excited because we had you on to chit-chat all about it. Once again, joined by Mr. Ricardo Jefferson. Ricardo, thank you, sir. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Guy. Have a great day.
All right, folks, stick around. We're going to take a quick break. More Community Focus coming up next right here on WPGC 95.5.